All right, so let's begin with JavaScript arrays, our very first data structure. Now, a data structure simply is a collection of data. So we've seen little tiny pieces of data, right? The number 7, the Boolean value true. We've seen strings, right? That's not a collection. We could have 10 different variables. Let's say I wanted to represent the members of the Beatles. I could have 4 different variables, one called, I'll just do one very quickly, but how about bassist? And set that equal to not Paul, but Paul, right? And then I could do the same thing for the other 3 members, but they're not connected in any way. They're 4 separate variables. So data structures, specifically arrays, which we're about to see, allow us to group data together. And we could store 4 different strings as an example: Paul, John, Ringo, George. Geez, I don't know why that took so long. We could store those 4 strings specifically in a single array, a single collection. Now, I like to visualize arrays like this pillbox here. If you've ever seen these, there's usually 7 days of the week, 7 spots here, Monday, Tuesday, and so on. And you put the pills for that day in that slot. I've also seen ones that are broken down into different times, like morning and afternoon and evening. But the main concept here is just a bunch of slots, and there's an order. This box, you can't actually see the labels, I don't think, but there is an actual order here. Monday is on the far left, and then Sunday is on the far right. Or, it might start, depending on the part of the world you're in, it might be Sunday is the first day of the week, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Arrays are kind of like this, just a bunch of slots that we can put stuff in, but there's an order. So that's really the 2 key concepts for an array. 1, it's a collection of values. 2, it is an ordered collection of values. So in the real world, we run into arrays all the time. You probably don't think about it, but behind the scenes, there are ordered collections of information all over the place. If you ever look at the comments section of anything, an Instagram post, a Facebook photo or album, a Nextdoor post. There's some crazy garbage on Nextdoor that I'm just learning about now as I live in the suburbs. So you can find these comment sections all over the place, and they are a collection of data. There's a bunch of comments that are grouped together, but they're also ordered, often by recency. So the most recent comments are at the bottom or the top, or sometimes by the number of votes or hearts or likes or whatever. Other examples, collections of levels in a game. So just a simple game to start, like a clone of Mario, or even a Sudoku game where you have different levels where there's an easy one and then level 2, level 3 that get progressively more challenging. There is an order there. So there's a bunch of levels and they are ordered. Songs in a playlist. That's a collection of things. We could even just represent our songs as strings. Here's song 1, song 2, song 3, whatever they are. And then there's an order. So ordered collections. So how do we actually make one of these things? How do we make an array in JavaScript? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We use the square brackets. Now we've seen another situation where we use square brackets. Can you recall what it is? Well, when we are accessing a character in a string. So I have this basis variable. If I want the first character, basis of 0. So this has nothing to do with an array right here. This is purely a string and an index using square brackets to access a character. Now, when we have 2 square brackets on the right side of an equal sign, we're assigning some variable to an empty array. So it's like one of these pillboxes here with nothing in it. We can add stuff after the fact. We'll see how to do that shortly, but for now, we can make an empty one. So I could do that just like this. How about colors equals an empty array. And if we look at colors, notice this is a bit different than anything we've seen so far. I have this triangle. This is just from the Chrome DevTools. I can click to expand. And long story short, we don't need to care about this, but it does say array. So there's some proof that we're working with an array. Just a little side note, if you try this type of, and then opening and closing, or type of colors, we know that's an array, but it's telling us object. Just a little teaser for something we'll cover later on. Don't get too tripped up and don't try and check if something is an array using type of. You're going to have a bad time. Okay, so here are a couple more examples. Here I've got an array of colors that actually has colors in it, red, orange, yellow, and I put them, in order. So the left one comes first. This is the first thing in the array. So even if these values don't necessarily need to be ordered, they are ordered purely by the way they appear in this array. So this is first, that's second, that's third. Or here's another example, lotto numbers. So maybe this is a lottery where it's just 5 random numbers, there's no order. But a lot of times in the lotteries, I haven't really played in many, but there is an order and your card has to match the order that the numbers have been drawn in, not just the numbers. So let's make another, we'll talk about why const is commonly used, by the way. So you can use let or const, but let's just go with let for now. Let's make a days of the week. So days equals, you can see I already did this. I may have recorded this video once and thrown it all away. Here's a days of the week array. I just put 3 elements in it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I hit enter. Let's take a look at days. Here's our little expando triangle thing. Click on it, and we see our 3 elements, our 3 values in there. It's a container, and it's an array. And one more thing, it has a length. So just like a string has a length, I can do this, days.length, and that will tell me how many things are in there. We have 3. If I do empty array.length, 0. There's nothing in there. It's just an empty shell of an array, much like I am an empty shell of a human being most days. And then the last thing you should know here is that we can put in any sort of collection we want. So it doesn't have to be homogeneous, all strings or all numbers. We can mix everything up. I could put Booleans in there. I could just do let kitchen sink equal a Boolean. How about undefined, 12, 9.999. How about not a number, false. What else am I missing? Null and a string, high. Accidentally hit the volume key. We'll hit enter. And that is a valid array. It makes no sense. You probably would never have this collection of data, but you can. In some other programming languages, an array consists of basically one type. It has to be an array of strings or an array of numbers, and you have to explicitly declare that up front. With JavaScript, I can do whatever I want inside of an array. I can even put other arrays inside, which is something we'll see shortly too. All right, so we've seen how to make an array, how to initialize it with the initial stuff in that array. It might be empty, square brackets with nothing inside, or it might have a couple of values, square brackets with values separated by commas. But we haven't seen how to access information after the fact, after creation, and we haven't seen how to modify, add things in, remove things, switch the order. All of that is very important with arrays. So that's all coming up.